to the online lecture series of SYBCom Semester 3 for the subject Elements of Company Law. In the previous lecture, we have seen the syllabus of the subject, and as I promise you that today we will start the first chapter. In this first chapter, we will start with the first topic, that is background and features of the Companies Act 2013. So without any delay, let's start the topic for the today. So we will first see the historical background of company law in India. If you know that a company is a voluntary association of persons formed for the purpose of doing business, having distinct name and limited liability. It is a judicial person having separate legal entity distinct from the members who constitute it, capable of rights and duties of its own, and endowed with the potential of perpetual succession. As a commerce student, and you have must studied earlier also that company is a voluntary association of persons. A group of persons comes together for the purpose of doing business with a distinct name. A company has a separate legal entity than its members. That is why in accounts, we consider the capital contributed by its members as liability. Why? Because for a business, it is a liability. The business has borrowed the funds from its own members. That is why we consider the capital invested by its own members or by the owners as liability. So it says that what? That a company has separate legal entity from its owner. It has to own his rights, duties, its common seal, and a perpetual succession. Perpetual succession means that company will continue to exist even its members changes or its owner changes, because it has been formed by the Companies Act 2013 and it will be liquidated or it will be wound up by the act only. That is why it is called as perpetual succession. Okay, so this is what the word company here means. If you see the background of the company, the history of the company law started with the Companies Act 1850, which was based on the British Companies Act 1844. So the background of the company law started from the Act 1850, which was based on the British Companies Act 1844. Further, between 1850 to 1882, the Companies Act was amended many times, and the Act of 1882 repealed all the previous laws which was made in the line of company law in England up to that time and remained in force till 1912. So it means that there were many amendments. Amendment means what? Changes in the law. When there is a change or when there is some changes made in the law, then it is called what? Amendment. For example, if I said that the Company Act was started in 1850, so it amended from 1850 to 1882. From the time between 1850 to 1882, there were many amendments made in the law. Matlab, there were many changes made in the law. So this is what amendment means here. Okay, and these all laws was made on the line of what? On the line of British Companies Act 1844. So this is how your company law history started. Further, we will see that the Indian Companies Act 1913, the Indian Companies Act 1913 was based on the British Companies Act 1908. Subsequent amendments were made in 1914, 1915, 1920, 1926, 1930, 1932 and 1936. It says what? The Indian Companies Act, जो इंडियन कंपनी एक्ट था 1913 में, जो ब्रिटिश कंपनी एक्ट के हिसाब से बना था, उसमें बहुत सारे चेंजेस किए. अमेंडमेंट्स मतलब उसमें बहुत सारे चेंजेस किए. कौन कौन से सालों में चेंजेस किए गए लॉ में? 1914 में किया, 1915 में किया, 1920 में किया, 1926, 30, 32 एंड 36. तो लॉ में हर साल कुछ ना कुछ चेंजेस किया गया. ये चेंजेस क्यों किया जाता है? ताकि जो भी चेंजेस इन्वायरमेंट में, बिजनेस इन्वायरमेंट में जो भी चेंज हो रहा है, इकोनॉमी में जो चेंज हो रहा है, अगर कंपटीशन बढ़ता है मार्केट में या कुछ अनफेयर प्रैक्टिसेस होते हैं, तो उसके हिसाब से क्या करती है कंट्री? चेंजेस लाती रहती है अपने लॉ में. इसके लिए जो भी लॉज बनते हैं उनमें हम अमेंडमेंट करते हैं, चेंजेस करते हैं टू मैच दी करंट सर्कमस्टांसेस. दैट इज वाई अमेंडमेंट्स आर डन. सो 1850 से स्टार्ट होते होते हम 1913 पे आ गए. Next, we will see that after independence at the end of 1950, when India got independence, and at the end of 1950, the government of independent India appointed a committee under the chairmanship of H.C. Bhabha to revise the Indian Companies Act with particular reference on the development of Indian trade and industry. Once India got independence and at the end of 1950, the government of India, what did it? Formed a committee under the chairmanship of H.C. Bhabha टू रिवाइज द इंडियन कंपनीज एक्ट. जो भी अभी तक एक्ट बने थे उनको रिवाइज करने के लिए, उनमें चेंजेस करने के लिए, ताकि जो इंडिया का ट्रेड है और इंडस्ट्री है उसको डेवलप किया जा सके. तो इसके लिए लॉ में इम्प्रूवमेंट करना था. जो इंडियन कंपनीज एक्ट, जो पुराने एक्ट थे 1913 को इम्प्रूव करना था. ओके, दैट इज वाई दिस कमिटी वॉज फॉर्म्ड बाय द गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिपेंडेंट इंडिया. After that क्या हुआ? The Companies Act 1956 had gone changes by amendments in 1960, 1962, 63, 64, 65, 67, 69, 71, 77, 85, 88, 96, 2000, 2002 and 2006. This act was the longest piece of legislation ever passed by a parliament. So the Companies Act 1956 जब फॉर्म हो गया, उसके बाद भी उसमें बहुत सारे चेंजेस किए गए, बहुत सारे अमेंडमेंट्स किए गए. सो दीज आर द ईयर इन विच दीज अमेंडमेंट्स वर डन. This was a law which was the longest piece of legislation passed by our parliament. Okay, तो ऐसे ही Companies Act 1950 तक अभी तक चल रहा था. It was only in 2013 when this act was passed. So in this way, Companies Act 1956 is the longest piece of legislation ever passed by our parliament. Further, we will see that with the changes in economy and companies also expanding globally to accept new challenges and conquer new markets, it made the old Act of 1956 outdated, and hence it became necessary to have flexibility in law which could face the changing business environment challenges. So once the Act 1956 made, it remained in the action for a longer period of time in our country. But with the changes in the economies and company also expanding its business all over the country or all over the different countries and expanding its market, then it made the old Act of 1956 very outdated. And to match the current circumstances, current competition, current business environment challenges, there was a need to make the law flexible more enough. And for that, the changes were reformed in the Companies Act 1956 and the new Companies Act 2013 was enacted. This act provides for a new corporate regulator framework in the light of new development taking place at the national and international level. Companies Act 2013 has undergone amendments 4 times so far. So in सब challenges को meet करने के लिए, to meet the business environment challenges, to meet the current national and international level challenges, the new development or the new corporate regulator was enacted in the form of Companies Act 2013. So this is what your historical background of company law in India is. And in today's and in this chapter, we will study about the Companies Act 2013 features also. So in the whole semester 3, we will study the features of the company and everything in the light of the new act, that is Companies Act 2013. Okay. Now we will see the features of the Companies Act 2013. So let us see one by one. See, the Act 2013 is divided into 29 chapters containing 470 sections as against 658 sections in the Companies Act 1956 and has 7 schedules. So it means that the new act, that is the Companies Act 2013, has a lesser section as compared to the Companies Act 1956, which had 658 sections. So sections has been removed in the new act. So now let us move on to the features. The first one is democracy and supremacy of shareholders. See, the Companies Act 2013 has introduced a new concept called class action suits with a view of making shareholders and the stakeholders more informed and knowledgeable about their rights. So basically, to make the shareholders and the other stakeholders more aware about their rights, that what are their rights are and how they can exercise a new concept has been introduced which is called as class action suits. So in this way, the democracy has been improved of the shareholders, and more of the rights has been given to the shareholders so that they can exercise their power. So that is what democracy and supremacy of shareholders here means. The next comes strengthening women contributions in boardroom. Boardroom means on board of director. So the Companies Act 2013 stipulates appointment of at least one woman director on the board of the prescribed class of companies. This has been done to widen the talent pool of big corporates to benefit from diversified backgrounds with different viewpoints. So women empowerment करने के लिए women strengthening of women contributions, it is has made compulsory by the Companies Act 2013 to have at least one member as a woman in the board of directors or in the boardroom. Okay, so this is what your second point here means. The third comes corporate social responsibility. We also call it at CSR. So the Company Act 2013 stipulates certain class of companies to spend a certain amount of money every year on activities or initiatives reflecting corporate social responsibility. In the upcoming chapters, we will see the corporate social responsibility in detail. But here CSR means that there are some prescribed things which has been defined in the Companies Act 2013, that what kind of companies are made compulsory to do the CSR activity. CSR activity is basically done for the for improving the underprivileged and backward sections of the society. It is basically to contribute to the society, to help the society in direct or indirect way. So certain class of companies are made compulsory to do the CSR activity to improve the society in a certain way, so that, and it is also helpful for the company also, as it gain in terms of their reputation, and it improves the image of the company in the society, because a company is gaining a lot of things from society. So it is the responsibility of company also to give something in return to the society. So this is basically what your corporate social responsibility here means. Next comes National Company Law Tribunal. See, the Companies Act 2013 introduced National Company Law Tribunal and the National Company Law Appellate Tribunal to replace the Company Law Board and Board for Industrial and Financial Reconstruction. See, these board would relieve the courts of their burden while simultaneously providing specialized justice. Why this has been formed? So that the justice can be given more easily and very and at a particular time. Because there was only one board, it was very difficult to handle the cases. That is why the two tribunals, that is National Company Law Tribunal and the National Company Law Appellate Tribunal, has been formed according to the Companies Act 2013 to lessen the burden of the work of the courts. Okay. Now next comes fast track mergers. Company Act 2013 proposes a fast track and simplified procedure for mergers and amalgamations of certain class of companies such as holding and subsidiary and small companies after obtaining approval of the Indian government. Fast track mergers has been introduced by the Companies Act 2013 for some certain class of companies like holding and subsidiary, so that their amalgamation or their mergers can be done very easily with the improvement of the, or with the approval from the Indian government. That is the meaning of fast track mergers here. Next comes cross border mergers. The Act 2013 permits cross border mergers by both ways. By both ways, that is a foreign company merging with an Indian company and vice versa, but with the prior permission of RBI. So cross-border mergers are also allowed in the Companies Act 2013 in both the ways. A foreign company can also merge and an Indian company can also merge with the foreign company, but you need the permission of the RBI in doing so. So these are the first 6 features. First one was your democracy and supremacy of shareholders. The next was strengthening women contributions in boardroom. After that, it was corporate social responsibility, the National Company Law Tribunal, then fast track mergers, and cross border mergers. It's very easy. It is very necessary to have a woman, at least one woman in the board of BOD, that is in the board of directors case. Corporate social responsibility means that the company has some responsibility towards the society also. So it has to perform this responsibility in the way of CSR activity, that is social responsibility. Next comes National Company Law Tribunal. This has been introduced to lessen the burden of courts in solving the cases of companies. Fast track mergers, so that mergers between the companies can take place very easily. Cross-border mergers means the companies can now merge with the foreign company and foreign with the Indian company with the prior permission of the RBI. So these were your first 6 features of the Companies Act 2013. Now we will see the next point, that is prohibition on forward dealings and insider trading. See, the Companies Act 2013 prohibits directors and key managerial personnel from purchasing, call and put options of 2 shares of the company, its holding company and its subsidiary and associate companies, as if such person is reasonably expected to have access to price sensitive information, being information which, if published, is likely to affect the price of the company's securities. So insider trading means that, for example, board of directors, they are the person who run the company for the shareholders. So they know what are the things or what are the securities company will issue, and they can take the advantage of that, and they can affect the price of the securities. So that is what insider trading means. So to avoid the advantages gained by the such people or such person, the Companies Act 2013 has made some provisions. Earlier, these provisions were included in the SEBI, who is the capital market regulator of a country. SEBI is Security and Exchange Board of India. So this has also been included in the new Act of Companies Act 2013. So this is what the meaning of prohibition on forward dealings and insider trading means. The next point is increase in number of shareholders. See, the Companies Act 2013 has increased the number of maximum shareholders in a private company from 50 to 200. Earlier it was 50, now it has been increased to 200. Okay. Now next one is one-person company. A new class of company has been enacted in the Companies Act 2013 in a way of new form of private company. That is, one-person company is introduced that may have only one director and one shareholder. One-person company can form with the one director and one shareholder. Because according to the Companies Act 1956, to form a private company also, there was a minimum 2 shareholders and 2 directors. But a new class of company has been enacted in the Companies Act 2013, that is one-person company. And that one-person company requires only one director and one shareholder. Okay. Now next comes electronic mode. So the Companies Act 2013 proposed e-governance for various company processes like maintenance and inspection of documents in electronic form, option keeping of books of accounts in electronic form, or financial statements to be placed on company's website, etc. This is what electronic mode here means. The next one is financial year. So it is mentioned that every company's financial year will be the period ending on 31st March every year. Okay, so this will be the financial year of every company in our country. Okay, the next point is limit on maximum partners. See, the maximum number of persons or partners in any association or partnership may be up to such number as may be prescribed, but not exceeding 100. So it should not exceed how much members? 100. This restriction will not apply to an association or partnership constituted by professionals like lawyer, chartered accountants, company secretaries, etc. So this restriction of limit of maximum partner is not applicable to whom? The professionals. The professionals like lawyers, chartered accountants and the company secretaries. Okay. And under the Company Act 1956, there was a limit of maximum 20 persons or partners, and there was no exemption granted to the professionals. But in the Companies Act 2013, there is exemption granted to the profession that that there is no limit for them for maximum partners. Whatever amount of person they want to have, they can have. And the limit which was earlier 20%, now it has been increased to 100%. So these are the some changes which has been made in the 2013 Act of Company. Okay. Now next is your independent directors. The Company Act 2013 provides that all listed companies are those companies whose shares are listed on any particular stock exchange. That is the meaning of listed companies. Okay. The Companies Act 2013 provides that all listed companies should have at least one third of the board as independent directors. मतलब जो बोर्ड ऑफ डायरेक्टर्स के जो मेंबर्स हैं उनमें से 1/3 मेंबर्स क्या होने चाहिए, इंडिपेंडेंट डायरेक्टर होने चाहिए. इसका मतलब ये होता है. सो एटलीस्ट 1/3 डायरेक्टर ऑफ द बोर्ड मेंबर्स शुड बी व्हाट, independent directors. Such other class or classes of public companies as may be prescribed by the central government shall also be required to appoint independent directors. No independent director shall hold office for more than 2 consecutive terms of 5 years. कोई भी इंडिपेंडेंट डायरेक्टर लगातार 2 टर्म्स नहीं रख सकता 5 साल का. गेटिंग इट? इट मीन्स दैट नो इंडिपेंडेंट डायरेक्टर शेल होल्ड ऑफिस फॉर मोर देन 2 कॉन्सिक्यूटिव टर्म्स. दैट इज 5 years लगातार वो नहीं रख सकता, कॉन्सिक्यूटिव 2 टर्म्स के लिए वो नहीं रख सकता. इसका मतलब ये हुआ, नॉट शेल होल्ड ऑफिस फॉर मोर देन 2 कॉन्सिक्यूटिव टर्म्स ऑफ 5 years. नो इंडिपेंडेंट डायरेक्टर्स. लगातार 2 बार 5 साल के लिए वो लगातार नहीं रह सकता इंडिपेंडेंट डायरेक्टर्स. ठीक है. नेक्स्ट है एंट्रेंचमेंट इन आर्टिकल्स ऑफ एसोसिएशन. The Company Act 2000 provides for entrenchment of articles of association have been introduced. So this thing is also been introduced in the new Act of 2013. So now let us move on to the next point. Next is serving notice of board meeting. See, the Company Act 2013 requires at least 7 days notice to call a board meeting. मतलब whenever there is a board meeting, at least 7 days before one should be informed about that particular meeting. The notice may be sent by electronic means to every director at his address registered with the company. Okay, but in the 1956 Act, it was not prescribed any notice period to call the board meeting of a company. But in this Act, it has been prescribed that at least 7 days before notice should be given or should be given for the board meetings. Okay. Now next point is restriction on composition. Restriction on composition means that every company shall have at least one director who has stayed in India for a total period of not less than 182 days in the previous calendar year. It means that every company shall had one director. मतलब कम से कम बोर्ड ऑफ डायरेक्टर्स के जो मेंबर्स उसमें से कम कोई एक डायरेक्टर पूरे साल मतलब 182 डेज तक के लिए प्रीवियस साल में इंडिया में ही रहना चाहिए, उससे कम नहीं. मतलब ही शुड रिमेन इन द इंडिया फॉर अ पीरियड ऑफ नॉट लेस देन 182 डेज इन द कंट्री इन द प्रीवियस कैलेंडर ईयर. सो दैट इज व्हाट रेस्ट्रिक्शन ऑन कंपोजिशन मीन्स. ओके. नेक्स्ट इज रोटेशन ऑफ डायरेक्टर्स. The Company Act 2013 provides for rotation of auditors and audit firms in case of publicly traded companies. So in publicly traded companies, there is a provision for the rotation of auditors and audit firms. ठीक है. Next point is duties of directors defined. Under the Companies Act 1956, a director had fiduciary duties towards a company. However, according to the Companies Act 2013, has now defined the duties of directors. Earlier it was fiduciary duties, but now it has clearly been defined what are the duties of the director are in the new Act of Companies Act 2013. Okay. Next comes rehabilitation and liquidation process. So the entire rehabilitation and liquidation process of the companies in financial crisis has been made time bound under the Company Act 2013. If a company is facing some financial crisis, then how the liquidation and rehabilitation process can be carried out, and what are the time bound and what is the time under which it It has to be completed. Whole procedure has been defined in the Companies Act 2013. Okay. Now next comes liability on directors and officers. The Company Act 2013 does not restrict an Indian company from indemnifying its directors and officers like the Companies Act 1956. So this is one difference in the 2013 and 1956 Act. We will study this point in detail we will study this point in detail in the further chapter which we will see. Next comes auditors performing non-audit services. The Company Act 2013 prohibits auditor or auditors from performing non-audit services to the companies where they are auditor to ensure independence and accountability of auditor. It means that auditors are appointed for that service only. Auditor will do that service only for what he or she has been appointed. He will not perform on non-audit services. जिस काम के लिए ऑडिटर को अपॉइंट किया गया ही विल डू दैट वर्क ओनली. कोई भी काम वो नहीं करेगा जो उसके कैपेबिलिटीज या उसके एरिया में नहीं आता. ठीक है. ही शुड बी इंडिपेंडेंट एंड अकाउंटेबल पर्सन. So the auditor should not perform any non-audit services. He should perform his work only. This is what the meaning of auditors performing non-audit services here means. So these were the features of the Companies Act 2013. Now we will see the next part of the chapter in the next lecture. Till then, thank you very much.